Everyone's favorite position group is what we're going to be breaking down today. We're going to be looking at the wide receivers in this class. Now, it's going to be a tough task to follow up last year's wide receiver class. It was so stacked. I want to say we had 6 or 7 go in the first round. We had 3 go in the top 10. This year's class is very, very good, though. Very stacked class. Some really impressive athletes. So that's why we're doing a top 25. We've done top 20s, top 15s. I had to talk about 25 of these guys. There were some guys here that I could not talk about that I absolutely loved that just didn't make the top 20. So we are upping it a little bit. Now you'll notice the display is a little bit different. We have the Patreon tab right below. So that'll be linked down below. You guys can check out the Dashing Draft Guys on Patreon. We've got tons of prospect interviews, our complete draft guide, so you can see our full evaluations and get to see some of the players that did just miss the cut. Also, be sure to check out Underdog Fantasy using my code JWAC to get double your initial deposit. On top of that, we're going to talk about some of the guys that missed out on the cut. Now, I know some popular names out there: J. Michael Sturdivant, Brew McCoy, Jaden Higgins. None of those guys made the top 25 for me. There's a lot of really good players that don't think a lot of people talked about. Barry and Brown also missed it. Just undersized. That does concern me a little bit in this class. There's some other guys. Trayshawn Holden was one of the guys that I didn't get around to his tape. So I know there might be some people asking about that. He's a guy I will get to later on, but he's really the only guy I didn't look at. I looked at Chris Lewis from Troy. I looked at Jamari Macklin at North Texas, now Kentucky. I looked at about 58 wide receivers. So these are the top 25. Let's go ahead and look into it. And we're going to start it off with Jared Brown at South Carolina, transferring from Coastal Carolina. Really like what he showed last year. I believe he only had 2 drops on the season for Coastal Carolina last year. His hands are really reliable. He's got really soft hands, and he does a good job of securing the catch. He's got a solid initial burst, but I feel like his speed from there is pretty average. Don't really think he's got burners to truly win down the field, but I did like that, and I liked his frame. I want to say he's around 6'2". He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's a pretty perfect size for a number 2 guys. I like him. I think he's going to be a fine player at the next level. I like his hands. I think he's a solid route runner, but he's coming against small competition playing in the Sun Belt, so that's going to be a concern for him. His release package against press coverage was something that I really felt like he struggled with. He couldn't really get a ton of separation against press, so that's an area of his that I would definitely like to see improve going to the SEC, but I think he showed some stuff, and I think he's a player that's definitely on my radar, and I think he should be on your guys' radar as well. At number 24, we've got Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. Now, he transferred from Washington, was the 4th receiver on this Washington team, really didn't get a ton of go, but he showed some flashes and was excellent in the Alabama spring game. He really did a good job of finding the soft spots in zone coverage. He made himself available. If he felt like the coverage was soft, he turned around and was right there for Michael Penix to throw him the ball. He only had 1 drop in 2023, but I really liked the way they used him in space. They got him the ball in some bubble screens, some short crossers, and he's elusive after the catch. He's a good athlete. He's got good speed in the open field. I really like to see that from him. I think he's got a lot of upside, particularly after the catch. Now, in big games, whether that was the national championship against Michigan, whether that was the Oregon game in the middle of the season, he just didn't show up. He struggled in the big moments at times for Washington. I think he's primarily a slot guy. He's not really the biggest wide receiver in the world. And on top of that, I felt like he was a little bit slow when breaking out of his routes at times. So if he can improve the quickness when breaking out of his routes, if he can be more reliable, he's going to an Alabama team where he's probably going to be the number 1 or number 2 weapon on this offense. I think he's going to have a monster season for Alabama. So we'll see what ends up happening, but overall, big fan of Jeremy Bernard, and I think he's got quite a bit of upside to be a number 1 receiver. I think he could be one of those guys that is going to be a major riser for the college football season. At number 23, it's Andrew Armstrong at Arkansas. Now, before we go any further, my good friend, the mock draft guy, did get to do an interview with him on our Patreon. So if you guys want to get to know him a little bit better, be sure to go check that one out. But he's got really good size. His length is fantastic, super long arms, and his first step is super quick. He's got really solid initial burst off the line of scrimmage. I thought he was a crisp route runner. He separated well, had some strong hands. I like that. Really, some of my concerns do come with the weight. He's pretty slim for the position. I want to say he's around 6'5", and he doesn't look it in terms of his build. I'd like to see him bulk up a little bit more. His release package against press coverage was really not good. Really struggled at times. And I would like to see more physicality at the catch point. I think he was a little bit soft at times, was not really a contested catch guy, which if you're not really going to win super effectively down the field, which he did do at times, you've got to be able to win those 50-50 balls. He just didn't do it as effectively as I would have liked to see. And I'm very curious to see how he's going to do with Taylor Green. I think KJ Jefferson at times was a liability, just couldn't get him the ball. A lot of underthrows. I think with a quarterback like Taylor Green, he could be in for a big year. So got him at 23. Another guy I think could see some progress as the year goes on. At number 22, it is Will Shepard, the transfer from Vanderbilt to Colorado. I like Will Shepard. I think he's got some upside to be a X-receiver. Colorado had LeJontay Wester, a guy that we'll see how he looks on this team. You got another receiver pretty high on this list as well. Will Shepard's going to be that contested catch guy. That's what he is. He's a physical specimen. He's got a large catch radius, big hands, great size, and I like that. His long speed is pretty solid, actually, for his size, while he doesn't have good burst at all. I think he's got some of the worst bursts of any of these 25 guys. He's like walking into his initial stance, which I really didn't like to see. But his long speed is good. He can win deep down the field. I like that. He's a very good blocker at the wide receiver position. I think his field awareness is something that did come up. Got lost at times. Didn't know where he was on the field. Sidelines, was out of bounds. Like to see that improve. Don't think he's the most gifted athlete in the world. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. But he's a very solid player that I think is going to make some noise on a team that's going to get a lot of national attention in Colorado. I've got him at number 22. Very interested to see how he does this season. At number 21, that is going to be Chris Mitchell at Notre Dame, another transfer player. I think, what are we, 4 or 5 guys in? Andrew Armstrong transferred 2 years ago. Will Shepard was a transfer. And Jared Brown was a transfer. All of them have been transfers so far. Chris Mitchell at Notre Dame is going to be one of my favorite players to watch in the country. Large catch radius. He is explosive in the open field. I thought he sold his double moves really well. He was a deep ball threat at FIU last year. He sold double moves well, had defenders bite, and then he could win down the field with some really nice ball tracking ability. He also shows physicality, shows some contested catch upside. But the route tree at Florida International was very limited. He wasn't asked to do much. So I'd like to see that maybe improve a little bit from him. On top of that, his release package was a little bit average. His measurements, average. Not really the tallest guy in the world. His length is average. He's got a large catch radius, but, nothing that moves me. And then he's got 1 year of production. Outside of last year at FIU, really limited in terms of his production. So would like to see that improve from him. Like to see another big year at Notre Dame, but was very impressed with the tape I saw, especially his deep ball route running. And I think he could be a really interesting piece moving forward. At number 20, we've got Antonio Williams at Clemson. Clemson's a disaster, I think, but Antonio Williams is a really fun player. Battled injuries in 2023. As a true freshman, this guy showed elite flashes. This guy that, Antonio Williams could be one of the top receivers in his class. We haven't really seen that, but we've seen some good upside from him. He's quick. He's elusive. He runs quick routes. He's sharp, got strong hands. His footwork is very, very good. And I think he's got some really good potential after the catch. I think that was really one of those things where I was like, get him the ball in space, he's going to make things happen. The injuries do push him down this list a little bit. He's not very strong. His size limits him, I think, to only being a slot guy at the next level. I didn't think he was very physical, but with what he could do after the catch, I think he's a good route runner, a good separator, and he's got reliable hands to throw over the middle of the field. He's going to catch those. I like Antonio Williams. I've got him at number 20. Hopefully he can stay healthy this year, because if he doesn't, Clemson's running out of weapons over there. But I got him at number 20. I think he's a very solid player that's not getting enough attention that he deserves. At number 19, we've got Nick Anderson at Oklahoma. I don't want to say overrated, but I've seen him pretty high on some other people's lists, and I'm just not there with him. I think he's got really solid upside. He's got good size. I mean, I believe he's 6'4", great length, the quickness and burst off the line of scrimmage. You love to see that. And he showed some potential after the catch, which for a big receiver, you like to see. It's really everything else I didn't like. He's here because of the athletic traits for me. That it's really tough with him. Couldn't really carve out a role at Oklahoma. Was not consistently on the field for this team like I think he should have been at times. Not a very physical receiver. Is not going to win those 50-50 balls at a consistent rate. He had some ugly drops in the film that I watched. They were right in his hands. Perfect throws from Dillon Gabriel that he just couldn't connect on. And he's not a great route runner either. So while the athleticism is fantastic, he's one of the best athletes in this class. That's why he's in the top 20. He's got to really work on some of the nuances of being a wide receiver, have better hands, be a better route runner. If he could do that, he could be in the top 10. But as of right now, I think his skill set is very limited, and I've got him at 19. At number 18, we've got Theo Watts, the other Missouri wide receiver. I like Theo Watts. I think he's a good player. I would take pretty much everybody from Nick Anderson on. I think they're going to go in the first 3 rounds of this draft. I think that's how good this class is. He's got good size. He's got fantastic hands. I mean, he pulled in some incredible catches, had the ability to rise up. He high pointed the football very well. He did great against contact as a contested catch guy, and his skill set balanced Luther Burden out very well. Everything else, though, he just wasn't a great route runner. He had a poor release package, particularly against press coverage, which I think really hurt him at times. And he has the ability to separate. It's in there. He just couldn't create separation consistently. Doesn't have great burners down the field. I think his long speed is pretty average for the position, but he's a guy that's going to win those 50-50 balls, a great contested catch guy. And I got him at number 18. I think he's a very good player. I thought he was going to come out last year. I think there's a little bit more dynamic players in this class that could do a little bit more. That's why Weiss is at 18. At number 17, I've got Juice Wells, a guy that I'm honestly a bit conflicted on. Wells is a guy that I wasn't super high on last year. I'm still not the highest on him this year. But when you watch the film, there are things there. Trevor Sikkema said he's got Des Bryant type upside. I mean, you can see some of those tools. He's very hard to tackle, very slippery after the catch. He's got really good upside there. He's tough and he's physical, which you wouldn't really expect from a guy that maybe is a slot guy at the next level. I think he's got very reliable hands. He makes himself available. He's tough. He's physical. I love that. Don't think he's the fastest player in the world. I think he's got pretty average speed. I think he's pretty slow in terms of his gather. He catches it, turns, then goes. It's not one fluid motion. And he's got a pretty significant injury history, and he's an older prospect. I think he's James Madison's all-time leading receiver. Went to South Carolina the last couple of years. Was good. Didn't play really at all in 2023. Now he's going to Ole Miss. He's got to have a big year. It's in there. He's got the tools. He's got the hands, the physicality. I think he's a good route runner. We got to see him piece it all together. That's why he's not in the top 15. But I got him at 17. I think there is definitely potential for him to be a top 10 player in this class if he has a big year for the Rebels. At number 16, we've got Dion Burks, the other Oklahoma receiver, transferred from Purdue. A very dynamic player here. He's undersized, which is a big issue for him. But I think he's got a really quick first step. His burst off the line of scrimmage is very good. And while you would think it undersized, he's probably a slot only guy. He played on the outside quite a bit for Purdue, and I thought he showed some pretty good tools there. I think he's got strong hands. Where he really thrived was in that short to intermediate game, though, because you could get him the ball. He showed some upside in space. He's got strong hands, like I mentioned. So I like that. But he did struggle against press coverage. He couldn't really get off of defenders that had a strong physical punch. Not really his game. He's got good speed, but he's not really a quick player, I would say. The first step is there, but when breaking out of his routes, I didn't think he showed a ton of anticipation, didn't show a ton of quickness there. So I'd like to see that improve a little bit more, but I like the tools. Yeah, he's undersized, but he's got good hands. He's got a lot of stuff there that I like. The quick first step, the inside-outside versatility, the yards after catch potential. It's all there for Dion Burks. That's why he's at number 16. We're entering the number 15 spot, and it's Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson's one of the smallest receivers I've ever seen. He's like 5'11", 166 pounds. Yeah, he's only going to play in the slot. He's only a slot guy. You're hoping he's Tank Dell, and there's some Tank Dell stuff there. Well, I think Tank Dell was maybe one of the most explosive route runners I've ever seen. Tez Johnson has some of that. He's very explosive. He's a good route runner. He's super quick, super shifty, sells his routes well, is able to find those soft spots and get open. He's a dynamic athlete in the open field. His open field speed is fantastic. And I think he's got really good hands as well. I like that from him. There's a lot there that I think are really good tools to have as a wide receiver. But when you're that small, there are some concerns that I'm going to have from you. And it's going to push you down my board automatically. And also, he didn't really run a lot of routes for Oregon. That was one of my concerns with Troy Franklin last year. Not a really expansive route tree. He doesn't really have that at Oregon either. That pushes him down. He's super explosive, though, but he's probably going to go in the second, third round and maybe not the first, because if he was 6'1", yeah, he's a first-round player, but the size is really concerning for him, and that's why he's at number 15. At number 14, we got Jaylen Royals from Utah State. Connor Rogers on the Stock Exchange podcast put me on to him. And, man, this guy's one of the best separators in this entire draft class. He's super shifty. He's a nuanced route runner, which I absolutely love to see. He had some of the best separation statistics per PFF, up there with like Ladd McConkey. He's that good. His first step is explosive. I think he's got really good hands. He's got a good catch radius. He's got good speed in the open field after the catch. I mean, this guy's a really good athlete. I question his work ethic. That's really where it comes down to it for me. He just took plays off at times for Utah State. He just seemed disengaged at times where it seemed like he knew the ball wasn't going to him, so he kind of slowly walked into his stance. Didn't like that really at all. Didn't really show a willingness to be a blocker, which again, I don't like. I like blocking as a receiver. And he didn't really show a ton as a physical receiver. He's not a contested catch guy. Granted, he doesn't need to be that much when he separates as well as he does. Those are my concerns with him. He's got all the tools. He's going to be picked in the second, third round again because I think he separates at an elite level. We'll see what he can do this year for Utah State, but I got him at number 14. At number 13, it's Trey Harris at Ole Miss. I like Trey Harris. I think he's got some of the best hands in this class. I thought that he showed some unbelievable catches last year. He's a contested catch nightmare. Defenders draped all over him. This guy's coming down with the ball, it seems like every time. While he didn't run an expansive route tree, he ran the routes well. I think he's got good size, solid speed as well, but he's not a separator. He doesn't create separation at the wide receiver position, which I don't like. Ole Miss is the hardest team in the country to scout anybody with because they run such a heavy RPO offense. We talked about it with Jackson Dart. We talked about it with other Ole Miss receivers in the past, like Jonathan Mingo. Now we're having the same discussion with Trey Harris. He's got a lot of things there that I'm a big fan of, but there are some potential issues there. He can't separate, doesn't run a ton of routes. And I thought that there were some issues with taunting. He would get up and like talk to the defenders, get in their face, and that's not going to fly at the NFL level. So while the tools are all there and he's got some exceptional upside, haven't seen him put it all together yet. And I think there are going to be some concerns there, but I got him at number 13 because he's just so good at winning those contested catch opportunities. At number 12, we've got Kaden Prather. I've been waiting to talk about this guy. I thought he was going to come out last year, and he didn't. And so I was like, okay, well, next year, this is my guy. Kaden Prather is my guy in this class. I absolutely love this guy. He's got great size. He's a really good route runner. He had the speed to beat press coverage, which you like to see. He's got stop and go ability. There were some instances where he'd stop, get the defender to bite, and then he would go on. I absolutely love that from him. He's got good hands. He might need to add on a little bit of weight. I think that's my issue. And you would expect a bigger receiver to be more a contested catch guy. While it showed up, like you look at the box score, he had a pretty good contested catch rate. Didn't really see that on the film that I watched. I thought against physicality, he did struggle at times. But I think he's a fantastic route runner. I think he's got stop and go ability, the size, the speed to beat press. Kaden Prather is going to be a really fun receiver this year. I got him at number 12. I had been waiting for this. Ask the mock draft guy. Kaden Prather has been my guy for a long time, and I'm super high on him. I got him as my number 12 receiver in this class. And number 11, Ricky White from UNLV. Ricky White is so freaking good. He is a awesome watch. If you guys haven't gotten to watch him, go watch him right now. He is so good. His production was off the charts last year for UNLV. He is a really good route runner with, again, stop and go ability, who just creates separation. He gets open. He makes plays happen. He's got strong hands. He's slippery. He's hard to tackle after the catch. And I think that this 11 to probably 6 range, it's so close. You can put these guys in any order. He's playing in the Mountain West. That knocked him down because I got power 4 guys really at every other spot. He's not a great blocker. He's got a pretty small frame. And I really felt like he didn't do much for me as a deep ball threat. A lot of his work was done in the middle of the field, the short to intermediate game. He didn't really show me a lot as a deep ball threat. So I'd like to see him be used in that role a little bit more this year. Now he's got Matthew Sluka at quarterback. That's going to be super fun to watch. But I got Ricky White at number 11. He's so close to he could be in the top 5, quite honestly. If you had him in your top 5, I get it. He's just outside my top 10 because of the size, because of the deep ball question marks. But I do like what he offers at the position. At number 10, Xavier Restrepo. I love this guy. Another guy similar to Trey Harris. I think these guys have some of the best hands in the draft class. He's got blocking upside. He does the dirty work. I think his footwork is really good. He does separate well. I think his body control is out of this world, though. What he does along the sidelines, I'm like blown away at times. At like, how did he have the awareness to make that play happen? He's a very smart football player. I think he's got a lot of the stuff there as a receiver that you like to see. The hands, the blocking, the body control, the route running, the footwork. It's there. He just lacks the athleticism and the size. And that's really what it comes down to. He's around 5'10". He's probably going to be a slot guy at the next level. He's not super explosive athletically. I think he's an average athlete, but what he shows, I think he shows the upside to be a really good player at the next level. That's why he's in my top 10. He also had some weird concerns against some of the better competition, so we'll see what that's about. Some goose eggs in there, but we'll see what he can do. I've got him at number 10. At number 9, it is CJ Daniels at LSU. This is a guy that if anybody is going to step up and be the number 1 receiver in this class that we're not expecting or that's not in the top 5 now, it's CJ Daniels. CJ Daniels is fantastic. He's versatile. He could play on the inside. He could play on the outside. His burst and his quickness are fantastic. And he's got that route running ability that I love to see. He creates separation that I love to see from my receivers. He's got incredible hands. While he did have some drops, the drop rate was high. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because I think he did pull in some really good catches. He showed physicality as well. I think he showed contested catch upside. He's just got that it factor. I put it in here. I can't explain it. There's certain players, when you look at him, you're like, yeah, that's a guy. That's a guy. CJ Daniels is that guy. He's got the confidence. He's got that swagger. He's going to be the number one receiver for Garrett Nussmeier next year. Him and Kyron Lacey, who didn't make the list, but my gosh, CJ Daniels blew me away with his tape at Liberty. Yes, there are some drop concerns here and there. He's not a fantastic blocker, and I don't think he's got the most amazing play strength. I think he could add on some weight at the position, but man, oh man, CJ Daniels was such a fun watch. And I got him at number 9 with the upside. I think he's a first or second round caliber receiver right now. I got him at number 9, and I think he's going to be a great player at the next level. At number 8, it is Tory Horton, a player that got strong hands and is an excellent athlete at the position. He's drawn comparisons to George Pickens athletically with the size, the speed that he's got. He's a really good athlete. He's got strong hands. I just hated his route tree. That's really the issue with me. Tons of shallow crosses, tons of really short passes, wasn't really stretching the field to the degree that I would like to see. And he's coming from the Mountain West. Again, similar to Ricky White. I love the frame. I love the athleticism. I love the hands, the physicality. It's all there for him. But there's just not a lot of route running that we've seen from him. So for that reason, he's at number 8. First or second round receiver for me. And I think he's going to be a great player, but this is a great wide receiver class. At number 7, it's Evan Stewart, transferring from Texas A&M to Oregon. Maybe the best speed of anybody in the last 2 drafts not named Xavier Worthy. This guy's got some of the most blazing speed. He goes 0 to 100 like that. I mean, he's incredible. He's shifty. He's got quick routes. I love that from him. And I thought his hands were really good. There's one play in the Auburn game where it's probably a better throw than it is a catch, but he just has good ball tracking ability deep down the field. He's got good hands. It's the health for him. Can he stay healthy? Battled some injuries as a true freshman. Battled some injuries last year. Hasn't seen the field super consistently. He's not super physical as a receiver because he's got a smaller frame. He's about 6 foot, 170 pounds. So he's got to add on some weight. But man, this guy's athleticism is off the charts. I think he's got strong hands, a good route runner. And he's, again, first, second round receiver. I'm a big fan. I got him at number 7. I believe every single one of these receivers from 6 to 1, I have first round grades on. Emeka Egbuka at number 6. I struggle with Egbuka because he's a good receiver. He's a first round player to me. But when we compare him to other Ohio State receivers, Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba even, I don't think he's quite that good. But that just goes to show how good the Ohio State receiving room has been. He's got versatility. He's a good route runner, played on the inside, played on the outside. He had good speed. I wouldn't say great speed. Showed some yard after catch upside. I think where he thrived is against zone coverage, though. He struggled in man coverage at times. He does a good job at just finding the soft spots in zone and making himself available for the quarterback. He's going to be a quarterback's best friend this year for Wilt Howard. Got injured in 2023. I think his blocking's average. I think he's average against physicality as well. And I think against man coverage, he didn't have that quickness to create a ton of separation. I think he thrived against zone, which is why I have him at number 6. I think he's a good receiver, but I think I hesitate to call him one of these elite receivers from Ohio State. First round grade, but I got him at number 6. At number 5, we've got Isaiah Bond from Texas. I love this guy. I think he's super fun. I think he's a great athlete who had long speed down the field, and created deep separation, which you love to see from him. Body control is there, sideline ability, strong hands, breaks his route with a ton of quickness, and I love that. He's a great athlete. He's going to Texas from Alabama, and I mean the rich just get richer there in Austin. Um, Really, where my issues come, not a super physical receiver. Didn't high point the football. Wasn't like a contested catch guy. Not a great blocker either. And surprisingly, he's got great speed, but he wasn't great after the catch. Didn't really have many big plays after the catch. So something I'm going to be, monitoring with Bond, but I'm a fan. I think he's a top 5 guy in this class. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about him when I went in, but I love the route running. I love the hands. I love the athleticism. And he's a top 5 receiver for me. At number 4, it is Travis Hunter from Colorado. I mean, you could argue he's the best receiver in this class. I wouldn't bat an eye. This guy's fantastic. One of the best athletes I think I've ever seen in my short time doing this. He seems to just catch everything you throw him. He's just an unbelievable athlete. He's a great route runner as well, with great footwork and shiftiness and the ability to separate. And he was great at all 3 levels of the field. You can get him the ball on short plays. He can make things happen after the catch. You could get him the ball deep down the field. He could win those contested catch plays. He's got it all. He took plays off. I felt like he didn't have his foot on the gas all the time. Position questions with Travis Hunter. Is he going to be a corner or is he going to be a receiver? That's really what it comes down to. I expect corner, and I think he's a little bit slim at the position. I think he needs to add on some weight, but Travis Hunter's a really good receiver. I got him at number 4, and I think he's going to be a fantastic player for quite some time in the NFL, whether that's at corner or wide receiver. At number 3, it's the player that kind of torched Travis Hunter, and that's Eli Manor. This is a name that I'm going to be consistently trying to figure out how to pronounce the right way. Eli Manor, I know it's the last name. I don't know if it's Elick. If you guys know, down in the comment section, but I know what he did against Colorado, like 280 yards. I went into it, I'm like, this guy can't be that good. Like half of his yards or a quarter of his yards came in one game. Like, how good is this guy going to be? No, this guy, I was blown away with what he did. The size, the length. I thought he was a great route runner. I thought he broke out of his routes quickly. He showed yard after catch potential. He's got fantastic hands. He works his way back to the football. I love to see this. I think he's got all the tools there. He's playing at Stanford, so that sucks because he's not going to get a lot of national spotlight. Being a bigger receiver wasn't as physical as I thought he was going to be. Didn't win the contested catch balls as consistently as I would like to see. His quickness and his burst were inconsistent. He showed it at times. Other times it just wasn't there. So those are going to be some things I monitor with him. But Eli Manor is a awesome wide receiver that I've got at number 3 in this class. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. And if you haven't watched the tape, go watch it. He's a very good player. At number 2, it's Teto McMillan out of Arizona. And there's a lot to like here. 6'4", 200 pounds. He's got the size that you love to see. He catches everything. I mean, he's a physical receiver, can win the contested catch, guys. He's got speed. He's got yard after catch potential. Doesn't have the greatest release package against press coverage. I didn't think he was an awesome separator either. Those are going to be concerns that I have about McMillan going into the year. But this guy's got incredible chemistry with his quarterback. He's a good route runner. I don't think he's a fantastic route runner, but he's got the upside there. He catches everything you throw his way. He can win down the field with the speed. I like McMillan a lot. I thought he was going to be my wide receiver 1 in this class because this is the prototype of receiver that I look for. But it's Luther Burden. Luther Burden, I was like, he's probably like going to be 2 or 3 for me, similar to where I had Malik Neighbors. And now I hesitate to say he's better than Malik Neighbors because Malik Neighbors just went number 6 in the draft. You guys know that I was never the highest guy on Malik Neighbors. Burden has a lot of the things that I liked about Neighbors, and he even takes it up another level because of the contested catch ability. That is something that I didn't expect to see from Luther Burden that he's got. He's not quite, doesn't quite have the speed Malik Neighbors had, but he's a shifty route runner. He's got great speed nonetheless, yard after catch potential. He's a great contested catch guy. I mean, absolutely fantastic contested catch guy for a smaller receiver. He's not very big. He's probably about 5'11". So that's something I love to see. He can win deep. He can get in the ball short in space. He can do everything for you. He's a bit smaller than you'd like to see at the wide receiver position. He did have a few drops, and he's not a great blocker, but I mean, come on, this guy's got it all. I think him and Burt, if I had a numeric grade on them, I think him and Malik Neighbors would have almost identical grades. I think they're very similar. And Malik Neighbors was, in some people's eyes, the best receiver in last year's draft. So Luther Burden's a fantastic player. He's my number 1 receiver in this class. But let me know who are some guys that you guys think that I should have included in my top 25. Be sure to check out the Patreon for $5 a month. You guys can see all 58 receivers I studied, read my scouting reports on every single one of them. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.